While the Texas GOP Senate race is still the biggest prize in the May 26 runoff, there is another statewide seat up for grabs that's generating a lot of buzz and soon a lot of TV ads. We're talking about the race for Texas Attorney General in both parties. This morning, we're going to focus on the Republican primary runoff for AG between State Senator Mayes Middleton and Central Texas Congressman Chip Roy. It's a very contentious battle. They emerged from the March 3rd primary, finishing in the top two. Middleton also received the endorsement from another Republican candidate, Aaron Reitz. We spoke with Middleton one-on-one about the results and the campaign to win next month.
The reason why he did so badly on Election Day is because his record of fighting President Trump caught up to him. And you know, it's funny when politicians like Chip and Liz Cheney are surprised all of a sudden when that record catches up to them and haunts them. And look, he said that President Trump needed to be impeached. He said that Liz Cheney needed to be commended and not condemned. He spent a career fighting against the MAGA agenda. And not only that, you know, he sided with the radical transgender lobby and Gavin Newsom to allow those surgeries on children. Evil surgeries is what they are. Even fought to certify a stolen election. And the list goes on. Texas is Trump country, right? They want a conservative fighter that will back up the president and make sure that we use every resource and tool to advance his conservative agenda in Texas. And not just that, put Texas first and defeat the left. That's the goal in this office. That is always number one.
When President Trump was here in Corpus Christi right before March 3rd, he gave a shout out to Congressman Roy. Did that surprise you?
You always have to look at Chip Roy's record, right? He's retreating from Washington, D.C. He's treating Texas like a backup plan. He's also a lawmaker who can't really show us any laws that he's made. So that's a real problem. And this is about results as well. Proven conservative results. That is the distinction in this race. And, you know, Aaron Reitz, one of my opponents in the primary, he endorsed me the other day. And the reason why he did, he said three things. Number one, he said, I know Mayes Middleton will back up the president. Number two, I know that he will fight the left. And number three, I know that he will defend Texas at all costs.
Chip Roy said, quote, "You're a trust fund kid who has never been in a courtroom, never practiced law, never prosecuted a bad guy, never been in the AG's office," basically implying that you're not qualified. What's your response to that?
Well, number one, I am a practicing attorney in oil and gas law. And this is Texas, by the way, Jack. So I think it's ridiculous for someone to say that practicing oil and gas law in Texas is not practicing law. And going back to, you know, how Ken Paxton got elected, right? In 2013, the reason why we supported him for Attorney General was not because he was a civil attorney like me. It was because he was a proven conservative in the Texas Senate, top one or two most conservative members. That's why we supported him. That's what this is about, is that proven conservative record. And Chip's a DC insider, right? He's retreating from DC. He brought millions of dollars from his federal account into his state campaign for Attorney General. And look, Macy and I, we're putting our money where our mouth is here. We've invested a lot in the conservative movement in Texas, helping other conservatives get elected, advancing conservative values across the state. And I can't be bought or rented. The left, the swamp, they can't get to me. And like our president, this is a calling for me. This is not a job. I reject the salary. I reject the pension. I reject the health care. I don't take the state license plate. I don't take the lobbyist NFL tickets. I don't take the lobbyist ski trips. I take nothing from this job. I'm only here to serve and fight for the conservative values that we believe in.
And that won't change if you're elected.
That will never change.
And the money that you said you're putting your money where your mouth is, reports show it's up to $15 million. Is that right?
I'm going to do what it takes to win this race.
And more money if necessary.
We will do what it takes, and I will earn every vote.
Last topic I wanted to ask you about is the school choice program here in Texas. There's been these challenges from Islamic private schools, et cetera, and the state has approved some of these schools. And I know there's been a lot of concerns about tax dollars going to that. Where are you on this whole issue?
But we should not be approving these Islamic schools in the school choice program.
At all?
At all. They should not be in there, not one of them. It is incompatible with Texas, with our constitutional republic, with our God-granted freedoms. This is something that is un-Texan and un-American.
But how do you defend that position if they're, is based on freedom of religion, you're treating one differently than another? Can you discriminate that, and how does that hold up in court?
Because many of them have ties with these nonprofits, these NGOs like Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, right? Those were designated as terrorist organizations because the laws that I fought for to pass, SB 17 was one of them, right? That allows the governor to name them. And of course, those groups, they're going to change their name, right? They're going to be other ones. They're going to pop up. They're going to spring up. And that's where the power of the AG's office comes in to investigate them. And I will treat Sharia law as organized crime, period. That's what I'll do in the AG's office. And I will make sure that that is enforced.
We also spoke with Central Texas Congressman Chip Roy about how he's planning to win.
The message has been very clear. You can choose someone who has been in a courtroom, who's been a prosecutor, who's practiced law, who's been the first assistant attorney general, or you can try to hire somebody for on-the-job training who's never actually practiced law and has never done the job. For the most part, he's managed his family business, which means really administering royalties that he inherited from his family. And that's not somebody that is prepared to be the Attorney General of the state of Texas. We have enormously important issues. It is an enormous law firm, the biggest law firm in the state. I know it well. Having served as the first Assistant Attorney General, I know how it operates. I know what to do on day one because I've done it.
I want to run by you some of the things that no doubt you've heard Mayes Middleton say about you.
Sure.
Okay. He accuses you of saying President Trump needed to be impeached. President Trump needed to be impeached. He said that you said Liz Cheney needed to be commended, not condemned. He says you spent a career fighting against the MAGA agenda, and you sided with the radical transgender lobby and Gavin Newsom to allow those surgeries on children, and that you fought to certify a stolen election in 2020.
Each one of those claims is either an outright lie or intentionally misleading. Let's go through them. If you look at the issue with respect to impeachment, I fought both impeachments of President Trump vigorously, voted against both impeachments of President Trump. On the issue of Liz Cheney, we were working through at the time the votes of what was necessary with respect to the conference chair. We didn't have the votes to remove Liz Cheney. I worked with the speaker. We figured out what the best path was. How do we unite? So we basically made an arrangement. Let's all unite. We'll support Liz right now in order to try to move the conference forward. But if she looks backwards and attacks the president, then we'll unite to call for her to step down. 2 weeks later, she was, criticizing the president. I was the first to step out, go to the steps of the House, and say Liz had to go. The speaker followed, and then it took about a month and a half to still build the coalition to change the conference chair. That's what you have to do when you're actually in the arena. Let's take the transgender issue. As Attorney General, my job is to defend the people of Texas. As a member of Congress, I'm supposed to advance good policy. We're all united in wanting to end these absurd and abhorrent procedures on children and this transgender procedures that are destroying children's lives. I'm supported by, endorsed by Chloe Cole, one of the lead advocates for stopping these procedures. I held one of the biggest and most important hearings in the Judiciary Committee on this issue. I've supported legislation, but I had a disagreement on how we handled the legislation in December to try to move it through the Senate and focus it on a spending bill so we could move it that way rather than the approach that was taken.
Just on the certification of the 2020 election, he still calls that a stolen election.
Well, I've been very clear about, at the time, in November of 2020, how much fraud there was in the election, that there was demonstrable fraud and that we needed to prove it, and worked very hard as, frankly, leaked text showed in my engagement with then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. We were trying to get the information, the evidence, and my goal was to say, look, if a state can demonstrate that, let's then have a different slate of electors, right? Let's show that the election hung in the balance and that a state would send us a different slate of electors. We never got there by January 6th. And so my view was we had to vote for the electors that were in front of us. I think that's what the Constitution said.
The school choice program, education freedom accounts. And there has been a legal battle in place. A judge, though, said that Islamic schools have to be able to take part in them. And, If people want to go to these Islamic private schools, they should be able to, like every other religious entity. Where are you on that issue?
At its core, Islam is a political ideology. And so when you've got things being taught in schools that are counter to our rule of law, that undermine Western civilization, and that frankly are against our interests as Texas and America, again, not like a freedom of speech issue that you have the right to say something, but you're now taking taxpayer dollars to advance something, to say that you're going to advance Sharia law, for example, that is inconsistent with Texas law, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, then the governor is right to say that Texas taxpayer dollars shouldn't be going to fund that. So that's obviously the debate. The courts are now going to go look through that and go back and forth on balancing the interest of the First Amendment ability for religious expression. As Attorney General, I would draw that bright line. I would fight alongside the governor to ensure that we were trying to defend taxpayers funding only schools that are going to support, embrace, and fully follow Texas laws.
Next week, we'll hear from the two Democrats in the primary runoff for Attorney General, former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski and State Senator Nathan Johnson of Dallas.